just straight ahead.
We're ready whenever you are, Bob.
Okay. Is everybody in who's gonna be in? I guess so.
Susan isn't here. She's on the agenda early.
I don't see Susan. Oh,
Always
she
come
said
back.
she'd be
Price.
here earlier today.
Yeah, I saw her yesterday. She said
Yeah.
she would.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
It goes fast.
Don't have any public hearings. Susan isn't here tonight. Maybe next meeting she'll come and talk to us about Oktoberfest.
I'm guessing she'll be late. Just a guess.
We'll see. If she is, we'll get her up here. Adjustments to the agenda, I think we
Made 'em all.
those before we came out with it. Select board comments. Katie's not here, she's,
Gonna have citizens first.
Clint, did you have something to?
I see no citizens comments. I was going
You
down the
jumped.
agenda.
Oh, sorry, did I?
You jumped.
I went past them, I apologize.
You did. We're gonna have to
No
beat you.
citizen comments. No citizen comments, okay. Thank you for that, Clint. Select board comments.
I just had one thing, and it's kind of rare, but the new shellfish warden that we have, I've noticed him a couple times out on the river, just going along and actually, talking to people, and, not out, just informing people and this and that. And I just thought, I talked to a couple people, and they really didn't even know him, and they felt kind of good about it. And I just thought that was pretty good.
Yep.
Developing relationships
Yeah.
with people.
That is nice.
Captain,
No, guess I'm all set.
you're good. Jan?
Well, I've been away on another coast, and I put my feet in the Pacific Ocean. It's not quite as nice as the Atlantic Ocean. It doesn't have the nice smell. So it's better. It's been very nice to get home and back to Waldoboro where we don't have traffic. And we don't call our roads freeways, because those freeways aren't really free, because the cars are everywhere. It was nice to get home.
Welcome back. I just had one comment to make, and that is that the Village Bookshop will be
Oh.
opening at 25 Friendship Street tomorrow,
It's
Oh,
tomorrow. huh?
at 10
Great.
o'clock.
Okay.
Soft opening. They still don't have a
Here comes-
sign up yet, but
Comes in.
there
Oh.
she is.
Yep. And they're having goodies there. Could you tell us a little bit about
Well,
that?
that's what Susan's gonna do.
Is-
We are
about
past the
the-
point on the, but would you please talk to us about what you wanted to talk to us about?
Is that about the bookstore too?
Well, she'll add that on later.
Okay. She looks like
She's thrilled.
She looks like a German girl.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Susan Price. I live here in Waldoboro, and I'm involved with a committee that is planning and going through with a Oktoberfest. It's going to be at Cider Hill Farm on October 12th, rain date of 13th, from 10 to 4. Let me think. It's going to be a family event. It's going to be a free event. There will be a lot of things for kids. There's going to be 2 puppet shows. We're going to have giant Jenga, cornhole, painting pumpkins. We're going to be decorating cookies. So there'll be a lot of activities for kids. There'll be the Waldoboro Historical Society is going to put on a trivia contest, Waldoboro Trivia Contest. Oh, what else? There's going to be music all day. We're having an Oktoberfest German band that'll be playing for 2 hours. Kat Logan will be there with her accordion, and the Rusty Hinges will be there to play some folk music. We'll have Jean Lawrence will be at the German church, I think for a 2 or 3 hour period for people to go on over there and learn about Waldoboro's history and the German church's history. What else? We're having Hammerschlagen Am I pronouncing that right?
Hammerschlagen.
Hammerschlagen.
Yep.
So we had decided that $1 will buy a nail. You have a tree stump or a log, and you, help me out with this, Bob, if I'm incorrect. And each person, they're hammered in once
You get
by
one-
someone,
one whap at it.
and then you get one whack at it. And so whoever is the first to get it level or below the surface of the wood, the stump, wins. And we thought we would donate half of the proceeds to the food pantry. I've talked to Lucas McNelly about possibly doing a 5K road race, so he'll get back with me on that. What else? Oxbow will be there. The brewery that's located in, help me out, someone.
Is it-
Where is it?
Newcastle.
Newcastle. Okay, so they'll be there. We're hoping to have another brewery there also. And Morse's Sauerkraut will be there. We'll have some other food vendors there. So I think that's about it. I think so. Oh. Rumor has it that our own Bob Butler may show up in his lederhosen. So this might be something you don't want to miss.
If you wear yours, I'll wear mine.
You got a deal.
So,
Can we
I'm
sing
picturing
Silent
this.
Night in German?
You know what they say about lederhosen?
Mm-hmm.
Die brauchen keine Bügelfalte. You don't have to iron them.
You don't.
They don't have a crease in them.
so, and I also want to thank, Julie, I want to thank you for your support in this, the select board, also the budget committee, and our voters for putting us on the referendum and getting us started on this. We welcome any volunteers. We're just a core group of 4 or 5, I think. So there's going to be some press releases coming out soon. There's going to be a Facebook page coming out soon, so keep your eyes open.
Is it going to be authentic German music?
Yeah, the German band is, going to be Oompa type music, polkas and
accordions?
stuff. I don't know if they dress in costume.
No, the accordions. Like,
Oh, I think, yes, yeah. They're all, Bill Maxwell set us up with this, and they're all,
oh, I'm going to be such a geek.
Yeah,
But-
good.
he knows them, I don't know how.
I
Stuff's
think they're
coming
all
out.
German too. I mean, they're
So
people who are
they
Irish,
they do go around the state and do,
Yeah.
these
Their thing.
Oktoberfests that are held at various, cities and so on.
That'll be fun.
So that'll be great, yeah. So the rain date's Sunday, if it's the weather's not allowing this on that
Oh,
Saturday.
good, I can
so.
polka to the Oompa.
Oompa Loompa.
So it'll be fun. And I don't know if it's at Cider Hill, I don't know if I mentioned that.
You did.
Okay, all right. Anything else, any questions?
Food at the new bookstore.
Right.
bookstore.
Just change gears ever so slightly to the new
Oh.
bookstore that the library is opening
Yes, I
tomorrow.
talked to Kat yesterday, and I'll be bringing in, I'll start slow, but bringing in like maybe a half a dozen muffins to start with, and then see how it goes, and then increase if it needs to be. I probably will start out 3 days a week, and then work up to 5. I think they're open 5 or 6 days a week, which is really good. She said they've got volunteers to man everything, so that's really great.
Will they have coffee there?
Yes.
They're going to have coffee,
Get our
And then
machine.
Yep.
you're gonna have.
and
the
I'm going to
cheese-
bring in something every morning. Eventually every morning, but to start with, just probably 3 days a week. I'll have something there this Friday. I know they're opening Wednesday, I think, so.
Yeah, they're opening tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Wow, time's flying.
Yeah.
So, all right. Don't forget about Bob and his lederhosen, though.
I know.
You guys wanna
Oh,
make it.
trust me,
I
that's
know.
on. That's etched in my brain now.
Yeah, I know, I could have,
Thank you, everyone.
I'm a visual
Thank you, Susan.
person,
Oh, I bet you are.
so I'm picturing that.
Town managers report.
Oh, is that what I have to do? I knew there was something I had to do for you. Big news. The ladder truck is doing well. Paul and Dale are flying out next week for the inspection, and it looks like it will be delivered in September ahead of schedule.
Wow,
So
nice.
that's huge. Good news. Our fiscal year-end financials should be out shortly. We'll get all of those to you. We are having a retirement planning seminar here for the employees in September, and that will be sponsored by Maine PERS. The Medomic Project, everybody knows a little bit about that if you attend the meetings regularly or listen. We speak a lot about it. And that was the project that was originally set up with how many partners together? All 5, I think, partners? The state,
least.
the town. But all of this data and testing that has been conducted over these last 7 years is in a Dropbox that was held in the state's hands. And Phil Garwood, who was a huge force in the Medomic project, has moved on from his position and now has, the state chose to make us the repository for all of that information. So we now have all of that information at our fingertips through the Dropbox. And a lot of that was used for our watershed-based plan that we did of the Medomic. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Phil Garwood for all of his wonderful help over the years with that, because he really did a great job. And that's all I really have.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The consent calendar is next.
Move approval.
There's a-
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a thank you that correspondence
Thank you.
that says, this is from a little while ago. Thank you so much for allowing our school group to use your conference room. It was so convenient to have a central location. Please let us know how we can repay the favor. Kate Race. And this, thank you very much for accommodating the staff of RSU 40 to sort the 6th graders into teams. We appreciated your kindness and helpfulness.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? All in favor of consent calendar? 4-0. Okay, new business, municipal appointments of town manager.
They were as written. Does anybody have any questions about it?
Yeah,
My-
the only one I had was on the legal services. Oh, we got 3 lawyers?
Well, we do, because Bernstein Shore I still use for the derelict buildings. Drummond and Woodsum has taken over more of the HR. And for simple things, we tried to use Cumler and Lynch from town.
Okay.
Just, if we have deeds and things like that, there's no need when we have somebody right in town, so. If you have anybody else you'd like us to interview, just let us know. We'd be more than happy to.
Okay, we don't need a vote on that. but
No, it's
prerogative.
strictly for your
Information.
information.
This is pretty standard.
Yep.
Next item is appointments to the Land Use Committee. Karen Clark has agreed to step back from the committee. We'd appointed her provisionally because we couldn't get anybody who was both from North Waldeboro and who serves on the Conservation Commission. John Morris, who attended last night's meeting, I believe, Land Use Committee meeting. We interviewed him, Katie and I interviewed him last week. He's a former chairman of the planning board. He's helped write the last comp plan that we did with Ed Carkow. And he's agreed to serve on the committee and also to serve on the Conservation Commission. He did submit an application. I guess it wasn't part of the package, but basically what I've told you is what his experience is. In my view, he's a great appointment, and we're lucky he's volunteered. So I guess the request is to accept Karen's stepping back and to approve or appoint John Morris to the Land Use Committee and to the Conservation Commission.
Do we have a list of who's on that? An actual list?
We do.
Land use committee?
Yes, would you mind?
Do
Give-
you need me to just go get a list, or do you want me to just?
Just say the names, that's fine.
Well, I'm just curious, because I've not seen a list of everyone
No,
together.
and they make a good point. They ought to be on the website, and some of these committees aren't on the website.
I can't figure out how to do that.
I know it's.
It's my bad.
That's
I have to create all these different things, but you have a representative from the Shellfish, which is, Reed, Chucky Reed, and the alternate for that is Glenn Melvin.
Yep.
EDC is George Seaver.
Yep. Conservation.
Conservation Commission would be
would be
whoever
John
you
Morris.
appoint.
Yep.
It was, what was her name?
Karen,
Okay, on.
And then before that, we'd had,
for Conservation Commission?
yeah,
Chris,
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
And then she resigned. So then you have,
Elaine Abel is the chair.
right,
Barbara Boardman
from the rep from the planning board,
from the planning board, also Sarah Hotchkiss from the planning board.
correct,
Freeman, who's in the audience tonight,
as a resident.
as a resident. Sanford Crane for the Board of Appeals.
Correct.
for the what?
Board of
Board
Appeals,
of Appeals. Polly McGrory as
another resident from
Mhm.
center of town.
From the village, yep.
from the village. John McNeil from Audio Wives.
Yep.
As another resident, village. If you wanna go there. I believe that's it.
It would have been Karen Clark, who
So-
has attended meetings until now. Yeah.
Who were the first two that you said?
Chucky Reed.
Chuck Reed and Glenn is the alternate to, in case Chuck can't make it.
Okay.
And then myself and Bill Maypower. Well, we're not members.
And could you just go through the process so that people know the process that goes on and how to get those,
Do you want me
how
to
they
do
were
that?
determined?
Well, we asked for volunteers. We tried to make it geographically dispersed, so we had at least someone from most parts of town. North Waldeboro has been problematical. We were able to get someone from the Conservation Commission who's also from North Waldeboro, so that filled that geographic diversification. And yeah, that's basically what it is. We interviewed, or you and Adam
I interviewed a couple
lot
of
them.
A couple of these people, not
Yep.
all of them.
Katie and I interviewed John Morris last week.
Well, some of them, they made recommendations from their
And
own
from
ranks.
their own committees.
The committees. so
Right.
the-
Recommended.
Okay, so the committees recommended the people to
Correct.
go on, so we
That's
had
correct.
nothing to do
No,
with
we
that.
didn't.
And Chuck Reed, is he the fellow,
He's Derek's daddy, Biggins' dad.
no, there was another person we interviewed. A man I didn't know.
I think that was for the planning board,
No.
What's that for?
Oh, he's on the Shellfish.
This is, yeah, Shellfish.
yeah.
Okay, that might have been for another.
It was
okay.
for another board.
Okay, so we have, we have the Shellfish and George's Economic Development.
Right,
John Morris is,
well, he,
Conservation.
if you
Conservation.
appoint him, he would be Conservation Commission.
Elaine is a resident.
Resident.
Dutch Neck.
Dutch Neck. Boardman is a
Planning board
planning
rep.
board.
So is Sarah.
Sarah is planning board. Freeman's a resident.
Correct.
Sandy Crane is a
Board
Board
of
of Appeals.
Appeals.
Polly is a resident. John is a resident.
Mhm.
Okay, and we've covered all areas of town? The village,
we have.
north, south,
Yeah.
Dutch. Okay,
Okay, the committee's 10 people. I mean, we could make it bigger if we want to. The comp plan says at least 10,
at least 10, and we have 10.
so.
Will there be room for an alternate? So that there might be somebody in the wings
It's
in
up to
case? Because you don't want it to go below 10, right? If the plan says 10.
Normally an odd number.
Yeah, odd numbers work. Okay, I interviewed some of these people, but I just didn't have a big picture
Mhm.
of who they were. And that would be good on the website, just,
Well, it would be good in
Yeah.
we're
In
working,
our new one.
Tanya's putting
Yeah,
that
yeah.
together.
yeah, oh yeah.
So I would make a motion on that, based
Sure.
on your recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. The approval of liquor license for Paint Town. This was handed in yesterday. I'm told we don't require to publish notice of it because it's a single event.
Correct.
The event takes place during the first week of August, and time is getting close. So they would like to, it's just like they did in previous years, there's no difference really.
Did you abstain from this?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
And move approval. Second.
Any further discussion?
It's a good event.
It's a
It's fun.
wonderful event.
It's fun.
And-
Big
and-
community event.
And I've heard tell that Vanna White's making an appearance.
I heard that
Really?
too. I heard that too.
Wow.
Sort of, Vanna White.
Sort of.
Right? Yeah, I heard
More
that
like a
too.
Dolly Parton, a brunette Dolly
Yeah.
Parton.
I did hear that.
Paul Smeltzer, who is always the MC, is going to have evening wear is evening gown. Yeah, it's going to be
He's
fun.
gonna wear an evening
No,
gown?
I am.
Oh. Maybe we could all dress for this event.
I'm telling you,
Maybe we get
you know,
Bill
it
Green
is
in.
one of the most fun events you
It
will
is.
have in Waldoboro. It is just the best time. Max is not allowed to go this year. I'm sending him away because he bought all the artwork I wanted last year and has not been forgiven yet. But I'm sending him away to a seminar for the weekend. But I encourage everybody to come to that. It's a good time.
Shall we vote on the,
I thought you did.
all in favor? One abstention. Okay, old business. And Max, I guess you're up. This is the LED lights.
Don't worry, it's not as scary as it actually looks. Hello. So I was asked to take over for the streetlight conversion. That's been going on. I don't know how long this project's been
2
going on.
years.
2 years? 2 years. An RFP was sent out earlier this year, I believe twice actually.
Yep.
And the response we got was from Real Term Energy. And they provided us a professional services agreement for signing on with them to convert the 110 fixtures in the town of Waldoboro to LED lighting. There is also a second offer from CMP, but I can get to that later if you want. I'll just go through what the process would be if we were to sign the contract. So what would happen is, signing with Real Term, it would be broken into 2 phases, or 3 phases actually. The first phase is they would send in one of their auditors to survey all 110 fixtures in our town, and they would provide GPS locations, setbacks, materials, pretty much just give us a ton of information regarding where the poles are located and where the fixtures would be replaced. They would then confirm those figures with CMP to make sure that there's nothing too much of an outlier. They would also then be speaking with whoever is representing the town to talk about the new fixtures, because there are different models, what wattage we want, whether we want a very bright area of, I think it's 4,000 watts, or if we want a more dim, calmer 2,700 watts. And
It'd be
there's
lumens.
lumens.
Yep.
Thank you. And I think there's a middle ground of about 3,000, which a lot of towns have pretty much been going for. We'd also be talking about smart controls, if that's something that the town wants to explore. That's where a remote location, we could control the dimness of the light just on a whim. Without the smart controls, we would just be setting a certain illumination at, say, 3,000. And if someone was to say, well, we want it brighter, we want it darker, with the smart controls, we could just do it off a whim. Without the smart controls, we have to bring in someone to go up the lamp pole and change the brightness on that. That would be about, I think, $50 to change per fixture. But again, that's
Is that just for the smart control for the light?
if we don't do the smart control and we need to change it manually.
Okay.
That and labor to have someone go up and do it. With smart controls, that's a figure I'll just bring up at the end.
Okay.
There are other options for smart controls, and they would go through all of it with whoever's interested in coming to talk about that with them. There was a demonstration with the CTC a while back to just show us the fixtures. I was in attendance, John Lawrence was in attendance, Ruben in the back there, he was in attendance. Bob, I believe you were in attendance, right? Marcia as well. I don't think that was it, right? So he would go through all the smart controls, the brightness of the lights to just show us what it would look like, the final product. And then from that point on, they'd then get the materials, they would find the subcontract employees to install it, they would be getting the groundwork ready, and then they would give us a presentation of everything they have ready. And that's where we can choose to go into phase 2, which would be a separate contract where we sign on with them to where we would give the net book value for the 110 fixtures and purchase them from CMP. So the town of Waldoboro would be purchasing those fixtures and we would be owning them. And the net book value is $5,626 is what CMP gave me. We would acquire it from CMP, and then Realterm would use their subcontractor and install the new lights. They project it would be it would probably be over by the end of the year. The new lights would be installed. And
In the interim, they would maintain the lights that are on the poles.
yes, I
The
should
lights
act,
we bought from CMP.
right. Once we purchase it from CMP or once we sign the contract, they do have an inter-maintenance policy where if something bad was to happen to the lights, I don't know, it just stops working. We would call up Realterm and they would fix the lights for us in replacement of CMP. And then, let's see.
So each time we call them out, it would cost, right?
No, that would be covered in the policy.
It would, okay.
So they would replace the lights, and by the end of it, that's when their contract is over, when the lights are lighting up the streets and we're all set. That's where we'd enter phase 3, and we had to decide how to maintain the lights, because that's the biggest part of this contract. The town would own the fixtures. So what Realterm has offered is a $2,000 a year contract to come up once a month and tour and replace the lights. It would be about 2 to 4 weeks to replace them. However, I've also spoken with Dave Johnson, who is the finance director in Dover Foxcroft, who was one of the leads for their LED conversion a year ago. He said what they did was just directly hire a local company to maintain the lights for them. And for the year they've had these LED lights, they haven't needed someone to maintain the lights, actually, which I was surprised to hear about.
Max, did Realterm install those lights for
Yes.
Dover Foxcroft?
Yep.
Yep.
So far, the only complaint that he can think of is one issue with the installation of a fuse, because it has to be a specific type that CMP designates, and the other contractor who is installing it, there was something wrong with the material that they use, so that's the only problem they've had with the lights, and they're still trying to just fix that. But minus the fuse, the lights have been working, and he hasn't heard any complaints other than the brightness of it. But again, they just dimmed that down very easily.
It's important to point out that that fuse is the demarcation line between ownership of CMP and ownership of the town.
Yeah.
So that's where the ownership of the town takes.
And it's just some other comments he gave. This is Dave Johnson from Dover Foxcroft. Using Realterm, very cooperative, very receptive to their ideas. They initially wanted to use Wi-Fi hotspots up in their area, and it didn't really cost them anything to have Realterm show them what it would be like. And then Realterm gave them the suggestion, this is what we found. We suggest you don't do it. And they decided not to do it in the end. But I think that was an idea that was thrown around a few weeks ago for this project. If we were interested in doing it, say, in the downtown area, we would hook it up to our LCI fiber, and then using a repeater or two, we could have it go to the Pine Street landing. Trying to think of some other things that were mentioned. I think, so in terms of cost, sorry if I'm just flipping through these pages. So for cost, and this is based on averages. This could go down, this could go up. It depends on which fixtures we choose and what we decide for the illumination. There are some other factors that will be more concrete as we go on. So the estimated total project for replacing all 110 fixtures would be $58,766.
That includes the money we spent to buy the fixtures from CMP, right?
That would include the $5,600 to buy it from CMP. Now, there is an estimate that for smart controls, that would be an extra $13,662, which would bring the final total to $72,428. Now, again, that's if we want to do the smart controls. We may go through this process, see the smart controls in action, and think we don't really need this. Now, if we do get the they'll show us everything in the bundled package for smart controls. I'm only talking about the dimness because that's probably the only thing we'll probably use. But they're going to show us everything that we can do if we decide to go with the smart controls.
We don't need every one smart controlled though.
No, but it's an all-in-one package.
I gotcha.
So if we get one, we get it all.
There are things that they'll do. I mean, for example, one of the controls allows you to light a path if there's a fire.
Yep.
Down on one of the roads. It'll light the path to the fire truck and show them exactly where that fire is.
And there's
lead
also,
them to the spot.
and I know I'm focusing too much on the brightness, but there are attachments that can be made so that if it's in a residential area and someone is complaining that it's too bright and it's shining through our window, there is an attachment that can be put on to at least block it so it's more focused on the street rather than the residential homes. Although with Dover Foxcroft, apparently what they did was they spent a bit more to get a certain shroud decoration on top of it so that it's only illuminating the streets instead of the houses, which I thought was just a fun little fact to hear about.
A shroud?
A shroud.
A shroud.
A shroud.
Fun
Like a
little fact.
black little shroud just
Yeah.
put right on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
I
Dress it up a little bit.
dress it up a bit. Yep. So, just any quick questions for the real term proposal before I talk about CMP?
I have comments I'd like to make, please.
Is it about just the real term contract, or is it about the project as a whole?
About the real term proposal.
John, why don't you go to the lectern?
Yep. I'll just.
Okay, I spent 30 years doing system integration of sophisticated electronics that I didn't manufacture the parts that went in, I integrated. And my value add was to make it work properly with the software that would go with it. This is a similar situation with some new technology. So my concern is this particular proposal is based on a consultancy arrangement, the way the language reads. Consultancy means that they are going to act as an intermediary between us in this town, the town, and the manufacturers of the components, the LED light and the type of smart control and the fixture mounting mechanics. So there's three major components there. And I feel there needs to be one party involved in this that has overall responsibility for the success of the integration at each pole as a program. And the way this reads, the way the contract language reads, which I think we should have a separate meeting to discuss in more detail, doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy feeling about responsibility. And it's very clear to me, based on my experience of dealing with contracts like this for many years, and I'm not against it. I just think we need clarity in more detail, and this can be done during the first phase, which is called the audit phase. And before the end of the audit, we can have a negotiation with them about the details, because they are going to contribute a lot of information that was not available to us. So that's my point. And a consultant, by definition, is somebody who adds value with information, but is not the actual contractor. And they're gonna sub out to someone to actually install, and they're gonna sub out when there's a failure. When I say sub out, I meant they're going to give a subcontract for the town, or help the town get one if there's an outage and there needs to be anyone maintained. I think also, if to go with them, we should have a one-year contract the first year with them to oversee anything that comes up. Because once they install the system, it's going to be new technology, and it's wireless interconnect for the smart control. Without the smart control, my understanding is they pre-program the module, I assume with some kind of electronics in it that changes the on and off time based on time of year without having to have somebody oversee that from a wireless interconnect to the light itself. That's not very clear to me as to which way that is, by the way. And we need to clarify that during this first phase. And then the first phase, it costs the town, if we should decide after they've gone through all this, the town is to pay, was it $5,500? Was that?
Yeah, that was the thing I was gonna bring up. So for that first phase, we don't have to pay anything up front. Just signing it tonight, we don't have to pay anything up front. However, to get all that in, because of all the information they're gathering for us, we do have to pay a termination fee of $50 per fixture, which times 110 would jam 5,500, correct?
Sounds good.
So, but
That's their escape.
and we don't have to give a reason for the termination. We could get the binder and say, okay, we're done here, goodbye.
Right.
That could be it.
The only other comment I'd like to make is I think I used to call these design reviews that I had with people that were buying from my integration systems company. And they had somebody from that company there that was competent enough to understand what we were proposing. And so what I would recommend we do here is, if we go with them, is to set up a meeting time where we have participation on the technical details so that we know what we're getting. And they're talking about using cellular services. There are all kinds of names now. Everybody's got their own marketing name for what it is. And what it is for us that have cell phones is messaging. You know how you message on your cell phone? Well, they use that same kind of data for each light to turn it on and off or dim it. In other words, the data packets that go, that's how it works. So I want to make sure we all understand we want all of them to work, right? It isn't like if you put in a wireless system to cover an area like we do with grants. Well, some people can't get it. Well, all of these lights have to work, right? And some of them are safety related because of their locations more than others. I think the LEDs that they're proposing, by the way, I saw the presentation on that, and I think they have a wide variety of choices, and I think the ones we narrowed down were excellent choices. And the idea of adding shrouds in some homes because someone complains because they have light in their house that they didn't have before at night and they don't want it. These options are something we ought to consider.
And that would be done during the first phase.
Right, and so this first phase is important. At the same time, the other party involved here is CMP that's interested, perhaps. But we don't know anything about what they have to offer in terms of the technology. But they do have an LED solution, as I understand it. And I haven't seen any of their proposals.
I think he was gonna go to that next.
That was the second part, yeah.
Right. But I have nothing to add to that other than I have nothing to say about whether it's good or bad because we haven't talked to them. But they have a competent consultancy but the module that goes in there that controls each lights is provided by another company. And the light comes from the company we choose, and maybe we'll use two for depending upon where you are and what the lighting situation is. But those contracts are signed by the town, you're purchased by the town?
Yep.
Directly, not through this consultant who
The town
does,
owns them.
excuse me,
The town would own them.
the town buys them,
Yep, yep.
and that's, and places the orders. And I would like to see some kind of a responsibility on the part of the consultant to stick with us. Thank you.
Just a quick thing now that John actually brought those up. I called Mark Carter, who is the sales representative for RealTerm that we've been communicating with a while. There were just some things that I did want to quickly mention. So all lights and the fixtures that would be installed, those have a 10-year warranty from the manufacturer. So if there's a problem with them, we can get replacements. And under the workmanship warranty that RealTerm has in this contract, if there's a wiring issue in the first year, RealTerm would be responsible for fixing that. And the other part where RealTerm would have liability is if after the installation there's proof of negligence on their part for the installation, they would be responsible for repairing it and fixing the fixture. But if they installed it properly and it's just the surrounding infrastructure in town, a tree or a building that obstructs it, then that is the one part where they wouldn't hold liability, which I don't know if that's something to consider. So the second part, and as for, there was actually one more part. Unlike Columbo, just one more thing. In terms for financing, they suggested a company called MLC that provides municipal financing leases. We can certainly use local banks. We could pay for it up front. It's up to you. That was just another part that
Well, we'd have to lease it.
yeah. And again, they suggested MLC. They provided an interest rate of 3.99%. But for Dover Foxcroft, they mentioned that banks like Gorham and Androscoggin, both of them were able to provide that option, but they went with MLC because it was a better interest rate. But we could certainly see if Camden, Damerscotta, First National, if any of them have a better rate that we want to go with. And I think that's actually my last bit from the RealTerm part, if anyone has any questions so far.
Could you indicate what RealTerm estimates the savings will be over a 20-year
That was my
period?
question.
So, according to RealTerm, and I'll make sure to send this out after the meeting. So, right now, RealTerm projects that we spend about $19,306 for the lighting. If we were to switch
That's annually.
annually,
Yep.
that's what we pay annually, sticking with CMP with the current lights we have. Going with RealTerm, acquiring the lights, the new price we would be paying annually would be $3,847, which is a difference of $15,458. And based on, depending which project we want to go with, whether it's the one with smart controls or just the street lights, by the 5th year we would break even with the payment, and we would be making money after that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
By the 10th year, they project it will be $20,000 in savings.
The CMP as well?
No.
Oh, he's getting to that.
So CMP has but any other questions for RealTerm?
Quite a savings.
The number that stuck in my mind over 20 years was what, $340,000 in savings to the town?
They only, for this, they only show 10 years.
But if you carry that out, and I think Mark did that during the conversation, he indicated over $300,000.
That might have been that might have been cumulative net
Yeah.
savings, actually,
Right,
because by the
would have
10,
been cumulative.
But just remember, at 10 years, it's, the warranty's off, and then we're gonna have to start replacing them.
Right, but these lights last a long time.
So CMP. So when I had to find the net book value, CMP provided their offer. I didn't know they had LED conversion, but this is something they've been offering since 2017. So they provided the same current annual cost of well, $18,904. It's around the same $500 difference. So they're saying if we go with CMP and they are allowed to replace the LED lights and we don't buy from them, the total estimated annual cost will be $13,275. Now that would be an estimated annual savings of $5,629. Because CMP would continue owning it, they would still be paying taxes on that, which Daryl, who I don't see in the audience tonight, but boy do I love him for doing this at last minute, projected that would be about $801 and I believe 81 cents
Per year.
per year for taxes. So that would bring the cost up to just about $6,500 annually. Now, with CMP, because we wouldn't be buying the streetlights from them, and because the existing fixtures are over 15 years old, we would be doing what Vassalboro did actually, where they decided to go with CMP. CMP would upgrade the lights for $0, and CMP would be responsible for continuing to maintain the lights and paying taxes on them. I was not able to contact the town manager of Vassalboro tonight. Unfortunately, there was just, I just wasn't able to get in contact with her, but from the article I read about it, they chose CMP mainly because they didn't want to worry about that maintenance decision later on. That's something up to you to decide. When I was speaking with Mark Carter about this as well, he said Poland, Maine was another one that went with CMP, and he believes Poland went with CMP because of more convenience than anything. But that was more of just his take on it. I didn't have any article to back that up or Poland's town meeting minutes to support that either. So that's CMP's offer.
So no layout whatsoever for them, it'll just be a cost reduction.
Yep. Of $5,600 reduced. So that's the two I had. But
We can choose the style, the arm, whatever, when they're replaced.
If
We-
we go with
With-
real term,
with real term.
If we go with CMP, do we have any choice in,
no.
That's why I wanted to talk with Vassalboro,
yeah,
because I don't believe we have any
We
choice on
don't.
it, because we don't own it.
I had already looked that up
oh,
when we did this before, and no, we don't,
You can't control the lumens.
no.
and,
It's
oh,
a standard light. They
Yeah.
put it on at every pole we own, and that's the end of it.
uh-huh,
So personally, what I see, real term is a long-term solution. If we want more savings, like we're planning 5-10 years down the line, real term seems better, but with CMP, that's more of an immediate cost reduction. But again, we're signing a 15-year lease with them, and we're set with whatever they give us
with CMP.
with CMP. But with
They're
real
gonna
term,
take care of business as usual.
but with real term
You get to
There is a
pass
lot
it ready
more
for downtown.
responsibility the town will have to decide later on.
I would think
Unless the
that's right.
town enters into a maintenance contract with Real Term or some other party.
We could, and real term, I believe I said it offers a $2,000 a year contract, where they would get a local group to come and help maintain it. They would come up about once a month and examine the lights, make sure they're still functioning well. but I believe there's one in Rockland that, taking a page out of Dover Foxcroft, we could easily just go over to them and say, do you want to do a quick agreement and be our maintenance crew? Send out an RFP or whatnot.
Are there any other questions, Freeman?
Could you go into more detail about the fuse issue?
The one in Dover Foxcroft?
No, with the contract, you're talking about the fuse, there's a problem with fuses. How often do they go out, or how many are there, what are the consequences of the fuses
Again, the only story I really know about the fuse is the one that was done up in Dover Foxcroft. I think as Bob just said earlier, it's still that fine line where it's shared with CMP. That's other than the pole itself, that's where we still have a big attachment to CMP. It has to be a certain size, has to be certain material, there are a lot of parts to it that CMP has made the decisions for, and we have to follow still. Again, whoever Realterm has installing the fuses and whoever the subcontractor is, they would be responsible for updating those fuses. In Dover Foxcroft, they had On Target do that. The fuse, I think at the end of it, can't remember the exact details. I think at the end of the fuse, it was made out of material that was fine, but it got wet before it was being put in. So it wasn't working efficiently, and I guess it damaged the inside. So that has caused a problem, at least with that light. I didn't get too much information from that because it didn't seem.
They were sitting right here.
I didn't know what to make of that story just yet because he said it was more last year, and it's just been a back and forth between their group and CMP to try and fix that issue. That's all I really had from that. He didn't seem to have any other information besides it's still a battle between CMP and their contractor to fix it.
Well, I'll comment on fuses. One of the reasons why they have that there is if you have a surge during a lightning event, it's supposed to be there to protect the electronics and the LED light. That's, but here again, we have a design review with the consultant. We can nail down these details and understand why that we have to consider that in our future. But this sounded like a corrosion problem that he's referring to.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, any questions from the select board or any others from the audience about the two projects or proposals?
Thank you for your research and calling those folks who have tried it out.
Thank you. Do you need me to still be up or?
Good job, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Max.
Did you need anything from us?
I think we need a motion to at least sign the first agreement with them to do the survey and agree to pay them the roughly $50 per light that they would require at the completion of their survey. And then make a decision at that point about where we want to go. Or just go with CMP if that's your desire.
Bless you.
So tonight, you'd like to make us make a decision on which?
So, Realterm is already contracted with Union, Thomaston, Rockland, Rockport, and Camden in the area. For convenience, they would like it if we signed on either tonight or in 2 weeks just because they're already going to be in the area and it's more of a convenience factor for them. We could sign tonight if Realterm is what you want. We could wait 2 weeks if you want to look over the contract yourselves or if you think we should consider CMP, I can, again, contact the town manager from Vassalboro and see what she has to say on this. I could also contact, I think Freeport is considering doing the Wi-Fi hotspots, because, again, that was something that was considered for us, if that's part of the project we want to add on. So tonight, it's more of if you want to do anything with this, or if you want to sign on, what you want to do now that I presented this.
You guys.
So we need to determine if we would like to go with the,
Real term or
or
CMP.
CMP.
And if you want to go with real term,
Then,
if you want to give authority to the person on your right to sign the document or the contract,
okay, so you need a motion?
I would like that, yes.
Yes.
I would move that we go with real term and give Julie permission to, authority.
Second, Madden seconded.
And what, just, the 5,500 you're talking about, I don't know about all that money, I'm just kinda curious about that whole thing. That's, you know, just getting hit with this just now, I have to think about that for a minute.
May I make a comment?
Yes,
I made a presentation here where I suggested we have a meeting here and discuss this, and then may have a negotiation about this document with them before we sign anything in the next week or so.
That would be something the town manager would do once authorized by the board.
Right, but that is not a green light until after that particular discussion clarifies some of the
That's,
situation.
that's her.
That would
bailiwick.
happen. My opinion was, what I thought was that if we agreed to go with them, then we would sit down and have that
Well, the
discussion that you're
EDC
talking
has
about,
taken
maybe.
the lead on this in the past. Is that something you'd like them included in?
Of course.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
So there is a motion and a second. I think the understanding is that this is something to be discussed with real term. The valid points you've raised, John.
About
But
the
it's to get-
responsibility of the functionality.
To get the ball moving here,
Yeah.
and we've been waiting around, not because of Julie at all, but this has been going on since November of 2016,
Yep.
when
Yeah.
I attended the first real term presentation. And during that period of time, potentially, we've sacrificed about 30 grand in electricity charges. So I'd like to get the ball rolling to save some money for the town. And yeah, I support the motion that Jan Minzy has made.
Can I get a clarification of what the motion was?
Yeah, me too.
To go with real
To
term,
go with real term,
to have the
And the authority-
EDC and Julie consult with the EDC about the terms of the agreement.
Yep.
And if amenable, to proceed.
Okay.
I mean, we're risking at this point $5,500.
Right.
If you decide you don't want to do it, that's you're out.
Exactly.
You know, I think it's money well spent, because
Yeah.
even if we don't get the things
Switch.
installed with real term,
Mhm.
we have a
Audit.
We have a map,
Yep.
an audit and a map that indicates what we want where, and
Right.
the kinds of fixtures we want where. And whether we get them through real term or somewhere else will be up to us.
So if we don't go with them, we have funds to pay them the 5,500.
Yeah, it's just gonna come out of your lawyer fund. So you can't do anything for a year. I have professional services money. So,
You okay, Clint?
I guess.
Any further concerns or?
you'll get back to us
at the next meeting.
at the next meeting with a
Mhm.
follow-up on it.
Yep.
And there'll be a meeting, and then you'll set a meeting so that,
Mm-hmm.
at Johnson.
Yep.
All set? All in favor? 4-0. Fine.
We do not have assessors tonight.
We
Okay,
don't.
Jan.
We don't.
What happened?
Daryl didn't come. You can't have an
I
assessors.
thought we had a,
He,
you're right, okay, we had an issue. I thought that's what we wanted to get done tonight.
he decided that he sent the attorney a letter about it, and that's where they're at, so.
Do adjourn.
Before we adjourn, just briefly talk about the next meeting. There are 4 topics I have the website RFP, if you'd like to proceed with that. A property maintenance ordinance discussion, maybe a workshop. A discussion of the fireworks ordinance, and a discussion of code of ethics. Is there anything you would like to add or subtract from that?
It's actually quite a bit.
It
That's
is.
a lot.
How would you like to divide it up?
What was the second one? Website, RFP?
Website RFP, property maintenance
Property,
ordinance,
thank you.
workshop,
Yep,
fireworks ordinance, and code of ethics.
yep.
The website shouldn't take long. But the fireworks ordinance is gonna be fine.
Yeah, and we need to,
We might have fireworks.
We might have
might.
fireworks.
We've been having a lot of fireworks.
Yeah,
I've heard
so
them.
I heard.
So you might have
I've heard a lot
I
of
would do
fireworks.
fireworks and start on the, something else, but we should start on the fireworks.
yeah, while it's hot, we ought to work right on that right now.
Yeah, that way
So
people are engaged
I'm
and maybe
hearing
they'll show
website
up.
fireworks for the next
Yeah.
time around,
Yeah.
and defer the other two to the August meeting,
Yeah.
okay?
You good with
Sounds
that,
good.
Evan?
Yep.
Is there a
Yeah,
motion-
cause,
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.